Here's what gets me about ignorance. And there's a saying, no offense to Bible believers, there's a saying in the Bible about people, my people will be destroyed by their lack of knowledge. And I believe what that means is that you be lazy. I'm going to call your attention to the war for April 19th, Free Republic. Fire sacrifice is required on April 19th. April 19th is the first day of the 13th day, satanic ritual day relating to fire. The fire god Baal, or Baal, Moloch, Nimrod, the sun god, also known as the Roman god Saturn. No, wrong. This day is a major human sacrifice day. Yes, the firstborn male child. There's not any available. The firstborn female child will do. Demanding fire sacrifice with emphasis on children. Babies. Children's will do, but it's babies. It actually requires, if you stick to the ancient studies. And it is not a Roman. You ever notice how, you can say it's a Roman, you can say it's a Greek, you can say it is a German or European or Russian evil god, but you can't say what it really is, which is an Israeli god, a Jewish god, an Israelite god. If you ever bothered to study history, you realize that the Canaanites were never defeated by the Jews. The Jews made up that story. Because the Romans were coming to kill the Canaanites for perverting the popular religion. What they used to do, the Canaanites used to wear the Star of David, which is really the Star of Baal, on their foreheads and on their right hand. Ooh, ooh. Forehead and hand. Ooh, ooh. Beast symbol. Wake up. And they'd go from town to town and they'd steal children because, true to their nature, they didn't want to sacrifice their own children. They wanted to sacrifice the firstborns of others. The Jews had slaves. They did. They always say they were the slave, which is not true. There's no proof, and there never was, and there never will be, because it's a big fat myth and a lie. A deliberate lie. Always play the victim, and you get all the sympathy in the world. So they used to steal their slaves, firstborn child, their maids, their maidens, their whores, we shouldn't call them whores because they were forced into it. Firstborn. And sacrifice that child. And the elites of the day were supposed to sacrifice their own children too. And they just sacrificed their slaves' firstborn children. So, these people who write this stuff, they may have read a paragraph or two about it, but they certainly didn't study it. It is true Saturnella was a very popular religion in that day, but it was very different from what the Canaanites practice and what most of the rest of the world was doing at that time in Europe and Romans. The big thing with the Roman Saturnalia was for 1 week, the slaves would trade places with their masters. And they get to spend their master's money and order their masters around for a whole week. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? I mean, slavery is bad, but when you get right down to it, in that particular era, it wasn't a bad deal. And people look forward to that whole week of swapping places with their master. They didn't do the firstborn male sacrifice, rituals, and all that kind of stuff. The Romans didn't particularly care for people killing their babies. But the Canaanites did. And like I said before, the Jews, the Israelites, became the Canaanites. Even according to scholars, the Hebrew language did not exist until the Jews declared that they defeated the Canaanites. They just adopted their language, changing AL to EL. That's why Israel is spelled that way, because it's the Canaanite word for Saturn. Israelites, Canaanite word for Baal worship Earth. Saturn worship Earth. Baal, the god of Saturn. So it always trips me when I see these people that place these ridiculous things with half-truths. Let's see, look, the protesters hold placards and gather to demand justice for the 18-year-old woman who was killed after she was set on fire for refusing to drop sexual harassment charges against her Islamic school principal in, Dhaka, Bangladesh, Friday, April 19, 2019. I thought that was in March, but I could be wrong. I was just trying to find out how many deaths by fire here. But we get the same old crap here. You know, when the Oklahoma bombing was, same day, the famous deaths. We already went through that, so.